6:31, good morning. Now, you don't need me to tell you that infidelity is frowned upon in society and often considered, well, should be always considered, a serious breach of trust. Now, relationship experts have said people cheat for a variety of reasons, including anger, low self-esteem and neglect.
Well, in the past, men had affairs with their... Well, I still do, unfortunately, have affairs with their colleagues, and women have had affairs with friends and neighbours.
Don't they have affairs with colleagues?
They could also have affairs with colleagues as well. But now the opportunity for infidelity has apparently increased, with both partners now in the workforce.
Well, one study has revealed that more than 50% of men strayed.
Oh, dear.
Whilst apparently being happy in their marriage.
Oh, dear.
Compared to just
34% of women. These numbers are staggering and terrifying. Well, joining us now to debate this is breakup and divorce coach Sarah Davison and comedian Mike McLean. I mean, those numbers are really quite staggering. Sarah, what do you make of them?
Well, I do think so. I think that obviously cheating is not okay, as Stephen said. You know, it does cause so much hurt and pain and can really disrupt family life as well, especially if you have children. So obviously it's not okay, and betrayal isn't sexy, lies are not acceptable, and deceit is not attractive. So it's not the basis for a healthy relationship. Yet, unfortunately, right now we are seeing a rise in infidelity. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis. The divorce rate is actually slowing down at the moment because it's too expensive to separate and get divorced, especially if you've got children. So again, lots of reasons why people are forced to stay in unhappy marriages right now.
So, Mike, do we forgive and forget if someone strays, or do you have to write off the relationship?
No, they've got to go. They've got to go 100%. If they're going to do it once, they'll do it again. And they will do it again, you know. As you say, a leopard never changes its spots, and I don't think he will. And I think it's also easier today because of social media. You know, if you see somebody that you like on the telly or somebody that you've been out and you see and you get their name, you can look them up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Next thing you know, you can send them a direct message and you make contact with them and you chat with them and you're flirting with them. And that's all done behind your other half's back, you know. So it's a lot easier today. You know, my dad was married to my mum 55 years and never strayed, because he loved his house too much.
Oh. Do you think it does? Do you think it ever comes down to circumstance, Mike? Because you just heard from Sarah there, there's a lot of people staying in unhappy marriages now because they simply cannot afford to separate or get divorced because of the cost of living crisis. Do you think perhaps circumstance ever comes into this?
No, I think she's absolutely right. I mean, I got divorced. A solicitor cost a fortune. A barrister cost a fortune. Going to court cost a fortune. It's just so expensive. So it's probably a lot easier. I totally agree with you. Yeah, it's probably a lot easier just to stay in that unhappy marriage and play away, yeah.
But there's... are we being too broad stroke with this, Sarah? Are there different circumstances? I mean, if someone's a serial cheater or... There's a difference between that, isn't there, and someone making a drunken mistake?
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. There are people that are obviously going to always cheat. They're going to happen. It's going to happen because they've got a fear of intimacy. They are scared of getting too close to someone, so they will always sabotage that relationship before they have to have that depth of connection. But not a lot of people know this, but, you know, there is a real issue that it's not just bad people that cheat. I think 20 years ago, it was very much accepted that if you cheated, it was bad and you go to hell. I'm not saying it's good, but good people do cheat as well. And that's because the number one human need that we all have as human beings is love and connection. And if we're not getting that from our current relationship, then we will look elsewhere. And because it's that number one driving need for us, we will compromise and sacrifice our morals and values to get it. So that's when infidelity comes into play. If you're not being loved, if you're not being treated well, then again, this could be something that then attracts us to somebody who shows us that kindness or that affection that we're not getting at home. So sometimes good people do cheat too, and they feel terrible about it and very ashamed. But it's something that drives us internally that we can't always override.
Mike, do you think good people can cheat?
I wouldn't call them good people if they're a cheat. They're not good people, are they? You know, I just don't think you put the two words together, good and cheat. No, they're just bad people. And that's it at the end of the day.
But if
There'll be a lot of people listening that feel very sad about that, because I don't think it's always, that you go out to be malicious to cheat. I think sometimes it's because we're just not getting what we need at home. I'm not saying it's okay, and I'm not saying they're okay with it, but they're not bad people setting out to hurt their partner. It's just a situation that they found themselves in, which
You
they
are,
know well
because
to
you're
get out of.
subconsciously think. Well, you are, because you're subconsciously thinking of doing it. So you are setting out to hurt your other half. I completely disagree with that.
OK, well, look, good to talk to you both this morning. Sarah Davison, Mike McLean, thanks very much indeed. I'm sure you've got a view on it. GB Views at gbnews.com. I think maybe I think Sarah has a point.
Do you?
Yes, if people are unhappy at home and not getting the affection they need at home, then they're going to look for that affection elsewhere.
And if they're getting out.
But that's why you have to work at a marriage, isn't it? You've got to work to make sure that people feel the affection and all the rest of it. I have to say, it would finish me off.
Well, it finished me off. And those stats, 50% of men strayed, 34% of women. Is that in all marriages?
Well,
that's half.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
It is. Well, it is awful. And so the majority of those will not be. There will be for bad and selfish reasons.
Oh, yeah.
One would imagine.
I think that would be the majority.
So, yes, I'm not tolerant of infidelity at all.
Well, neither am I. Let us know what you think. GBViews at gbnews.com.
Right.